Tonight, a British woman who has been living in Canada for over 30 years has her citizenship application denied because she can't prove she can speak English. Is this a case of government going too far, or is it upholding the standard for the entire country?
French. So I don't think it's unreasonable that people would go and sit for an hour to demonstrate their language proficiency.
I just find it really a little bit ridiculous because I've been here like 30 odd years and I do speak English.
I understood every word she said. Good evening and welcome to Top Story. I'm Squire Barnes. Tonight, Karen Strachan is originally from Yorkshire, England. She has lived in Canada for almost 33 years. Despite speaking English fluently and raising 2 children born in this country, her application for Canadian citizenship has been rejected because she doesn't have the proof that she actually can speak the English language. Is this a case of the government going too far to ensure immigrants to this country speak English, or French as the case may be? Or is it upholding the same standard for all new Canadians? We'll begin tonight's Top Story with Ted Chernecki.
Canada's immigration minister in Vancouver today to announce a new and improved way for all newcomers to the country to succeed in becoming citizens, and how Ottawa has dramatically increased spending to help immigrants cut through the red tape.
The Government of Canada has tripled our investment in settlement services.
Welcome to Citizenship and Immigration Canada.
But on the other side of town, a long-time permanent resident of West Vancouver was telling us her own red tape story, how she was born in the UK, moved here 33 years ago, and this year finally decided to seek her Canadian citizenship. But last week she had her application rejected because she could not prove on paper that she spoke English.
And said to them, you know, it's quite apparent right now that I do speak English. It is my native tongue. I don't actually speak another language. And I says, well, what can I do here? Aren't those ESL courses?
I can hear you very well. I think you moved away from the microphone.
I'm sorry. Are those not ESL courses?
Sorry, again, I can hear you.
Are they not ESL courses, English second language courses?
English second language courses?
She, of course, conversed in her one and only native language with bureaucrats who, despite her eloquence, suggested the only alternative was to take an English exam that would cost her $295.
I just find it really a little bit ridiculous because I've been here like 30 odd years and I do speak English, so it should be a moot point.
We require that people actually do a simple test to demonstrate their language proficiency. And I looked at the idea of exempting people born in certain countries, but my department pointed out to me that there are large numbers of people in primary English or French-speaking countries who don't speak English or French. So I don't think it's unreasonable that people would go and sit for an hour to demonstrate their language proficiency.
But it's not a simple one-hour exam. It's an all-day affair. The government-approved testing agencies warning everyone to arrive by 8 and plan to have to stay until 5:30 in the afternoon. All this for an applicant, in this case, whose English was better than the bureaucrat she was talking to. Ted Chernecki, Global News.
Okay, this is Karen Strachan, and she claims she can speak English. You don't need a translator?
Not that I know of.
No subtitles are necessary here?
Not in this country.
You've been here almost 33 years.
I have.
Okay. So what is your status right now?
I am landed immigrant.
Okay. And so what does that keep you from being? As if you're a Canadian citizen, what do you get that when you don't get when you're a landed immigrant?
Well, I can't vote.
Can't vote?
I can't get a Canadian passport. And if I wanted to apply on a federal government job, I couldn't do that. So there are some limitations, and if something unfortunate should happen where I would break the criminal code, I could get deported.
That's ridiculous.
And
having been here for over 3 decades, you've got children who were born here.
Yes.
When did you find out about this? And you just told me while that story was running that to prove that you can speak English, you have to take a full day's testing, correct?
Yeah, so when I put in my application in February and I looked at the requirements, one of the requirements is proof of English language. So I looked at that and go, okay, what is their definition of proof? And it's actually high school matriculation or post-secondary certification in English, or taking one of these programs. And so I phoned Canadian Immigration and I spoke to them on the phone, and I says, it's quite apparent, you know, I do speak fluent English. I don't have my documents. Do I really need to take this course, or is there some other way that I can prove that I can speak English? And they says, well, you can put a letter of understanding in with your application.
A letter of understanding.
Yeah, just stating, you know, the fact that you've been here that long, that, you know, English is your native tongue, and, you know.
He didn't get that by the phone conversation, that English is your native tongue?
They did, but they said.
Rules are rules.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Now you didn't have the documentation that would sort of settle this immediately, correct?
No.
What happened with that?
Well, my high school matriculation was in 1975. I've moved quite a few times since then, so I don't have that documentation anymore, and that school's still not standing.
Okay, so the school's gone. But when you came to Canada, they must have given you some documentation at that point that says, yes, English is your first language.
Nope.
Nothing. They just said welcome and away you go?
Yeah, I just, through the Canadian consulate, I came over with my mother and my brother. I was 20 years of age, so I was dependent. And I got my IMM 100, and I was admitted to Canada. Been here ever since, been working ever since. Married a Canadian, raised 2 children.
When did you think of becoming a citizen?
This year.
Okay, so why not do it in the previous 32 years?
Well, I think I procrastinated for way too long. And I have had some friends that have turned around to me and say, it's about time. And so as the new year comes around, you say, okay, 2013, you know, what am I going to do this year? And I go, I'm going to actually knuckle down and get my Canadian citizenship. I'm going to revise for the exam and hopefully become a Canadian.
But now you have to go through this. So now what has to happen? Now you actually have to pay about $300 to do this?
Well, your application for Canadian citizenship is $200. Now, if I want to take this test, which I just found out today that it's not the full course.
You have to take a course?
I thought I had to.
Okay.
That was my understanding when I spoke with Immigration Canada back in February. But I've since found out today that it's just a one-day, $295, that I can go and then I can actually prove that I can speak English.
Is there any way you can avoid this, or do you see you're going to have to throw the $295 out there and write the test and get an A?
The only thing that they told me is when I was on the phone with them in February, I can wait until I'm 56 years of age, because apparently then I don't have to prove that I can speak English.
I don't understand. Why? Well, we do have an immigration lawyer. Perhaps he can tell us why.
Perhaps.
56 years, okay. And you are not 56 years of age just yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. Why don't we take a break here and let's bring in the immigration lawyer, because I think we need to get on this side of it, because things have really changed when it comes to immigration. This absurdity is just one example of it. We'll take a break here on Top Story and come back with more with the Karen Strachan story. If you are just joining us, Karen Strachan has lived in Canada for almost 33 years. She is from England. English is her first language, her only language, but she has been denied Canadian citizenship because she can't prove she can speak English. Is the government upholding a standard for all new Canadians, or has it gone too far in this particular case? Rudy Kischer has now joined us. He's an immigration and citizenship lawyer with the firm Maynard Kischer and Stojicevic. Am I right?
Stojicevic, but we'll
Stojicevic. It's written differently here. And he joins us now to help us navigate through Karen's case. Can Stojicevic speak English?
He perfectly.
Brilliant. How absurd is this case?
It's unfortunately very absurd, but not that uncommon these days. Unfortunately, the bureaucracy has gone a little too far. There was a time period when I started practicing that an English test wasn't required. When I started practicing, I asked an immigration officer, how do you test people? I see here in the regulations you've got a requirement that they speak one of Canada's official languages, an applicant. And the response I got was, well, when they come to write their citizenship test, we ask them to take a seat. And if they can find their seat and we don't have any problems communicating with them, then we assume, and they pass the test, that they should be fine. So that was the low standard for English ability when I started practicing. The minister has now gone the other way, and to the point where I think he's being extremely unreasonable. You see cases like Karen's, where someone who's clearly, fluent in English ability has to sort of go by what the department wants, not what the law requires. The law doesn't require them to take a test. It requires the applicant to put in evidence that they speak English.
But could evidence not be something as simple as Karen talking to someone on the phone?
It could be. I mean, as a lawyer, I'd advise maybe putting in a statement, maybe an affidavit, a sworn statement in there, and having the department deal with that. In Karen's case, from what I see, they won't even process her application. They've sent back her application saying we won't process it because we don't accept your evidence. The evidence is not correct.
So it's bureaucracy gone mad.
Gone mad, I would say.
Not to cut you off the conversation here, Karen, but just one thing: how has it changed? The Conservatives have changed immigration in what way?
Well, as of November 1st, they've put this requirement in that they've changed the rules that the applicant has to provide evidence of their English ability. Before that, it was up to the government to decide the applicant's English ability or official language, so French. But that changed November 1st, that they've made a requirement that the applicant provide that evidence, and they've suggested or demanded on their webpage that it be in the way of a third-party language test or proof having attended either high school or post-secondary school, certificate of having graduated from that school.
I'm going to ask you the silly question now. How frustrating is this? Like, how many times did you want to flip a table at a government office?
Well, I don't know whether it would be frustrating. It was unbelievable. I mean, I was just flabbergasted.
That's a good word. That's a good English word.
I was absolutely flabbergasted. The fact I could understand if I was new to Canada and I hadn't provided enough proof, but I also included my resume that indicated the type of jobs that I've held down in the 3 decades that I've been here in Canada, as well as a letter of understanding. And said the unfortunate thing is that I just don't have my high school records anymore. Now,
you have become quite famous with this case, or at least very recently famous, because the immigration minister knows all about you now and did have this to say about your case earlier today.
In Canada down, and that's why we brought in a mandatory third-party administered language testing for applicants for citizenship. Most other countries do it. It's entirely reasonable. I'm sorry for this lady that she's gone through that experience, but she ought to have done the test like everyone else.
Fight City Hall, Karen, but I wish you the best of luck if you're going to go ahead with it.
I mean, you can give free legal advice right here. What should Karen do?
I can't pay my mortgage with free legal advice, but I think, unfortunately, I think it's probably fastest and easiest just to write the test.
Pay the $300 or whatever it is.
Pay the $300, spend the day, take the day off of work, go write the test, because from my experience, trying to get past the gatekeeper that's going to take that application, it's going to cost, in legal fees, it could cost you thousands of dollars just to get past.
So things have changed here to the point where, I mean, you would know this being an immigration lawyer. Are there Canadian citizens right now who can barely speak either official languages?
There's plenty, actually. Under the Act, even currently after the age of 55, you do not have to show your official language ability. So even
so why would that be? Like, what? I don't get it.
There's a class, I think, of applicants that come to Canada most often under the family class applicants, so parents and grandparents that come that aren't economic immigrants, that there's a belief that probably they will never be able to actually speak one of the official languages, and that they still want them to be able to participate in society. So I think that's where that decision comes from.
Do you think with this, in your opinion, do you think where immigrants come from in the future is going to change again?
I don't think the citizenship test will change that. I think what they're doing in some ways is that they've gone the right direction in the sense of making it harder for, making sure that they're getting people with the right language skills that can fully participate in Canadian society to be citizens. I think they've become a little bit unreasonable in the sense of not looking at the clear facts on the case, such as in Karen's case, and making a common sense decision, which is all that's really required here.
Okay, you've been given the free advice. What are you going to do?
Still undecided. My two options is to take the test, pay the money, or wait until I'm 56 years of age and reapply.
And just wait it out for a few years? I'm not going to ask you how old you are. You have to wait it out for 20 years? Is that what's going to have to happen here?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you both for coming in. Thank you for enlightening us on the immigration situation, and thanks for telling your story as well.
Thank you.
We're going to take a little break here on Top Story. Tomorrow, of course, is the NHL trade deadline. The Canucks kind of got ahead of the game. They made a trade with the Dallas Stars, picked up Derek Roy. I'm going to bring in one of my buddies, Jay, and we're going to talk about this after the break.